to show you what's happening in this day and time, the influence of the new age of spirituality has come about because you're in a new day and time of elevated consciousness. And this is why there's been so much bipolarism in blacks. And I'm talking about natural bipolarism, how it's picked up. There's actually two main causes of natural bipolarism in blacks, why there's so many cases. Can you see this diagram?
Yeah.
Yes.
If you look at the diagram, right, are symbolically giving you a depiction of the melanin molecule that is in darker hues of people. Everybody has melanin and everything has melanin, even Caucasians. They just have a distinct lack of it. In fact, I will reveal to you, which again, I point people to my book, Quantum and the Creation of the Universe and Humans. All right. The point I'm making is the fact that when you know real science, you know that they identified melanin under two terms. You see the word melanin, but when you go deep and research it, there's actually two forms of melanin, right, for your skin. We have EU melanin, right? And I said that instead of saying U melanin, if you put the letters EU attached to it to the word melanin, you have U melanin, all right? If I say EU melanin, you get the spelling of it very easily. That EU at the beginning of melanin in actuality means true. It's a prefix from the Greek, true melanin. That is dominated in darker hues, mainly black people and Indians. But they called it, not us. It's their word. It's a white word, a Caucasian word, a Tamahu word. They called it true melanin. But in themselves, they are dominated by theomelanin. So why would you call our melanin, black people's melanin, U melanin, EU melanin, as in true melanin, because that's what it means, and then have the word theomelanin? That's because of the properties of melanin, that it is a capacitor that traps energy and energizes you, as well as a filter that stops you from getting cancer from the UV rays of the sun. And that is why the diagram shows you the electromagnetic spectrum and the 7 waves of light that are also called electromagnetic frequencies. And because you're in a sun cycle day and time, and blacks have all these frequencies going on, Caucasians, and if you look on the word visible light waves, which is the wavelength that gives you the ability to see, which ranges from 700 nanometers to as small as 400 nanometers. That is the Caucasian frequency and capacity. They barely go outside of that range as a capacitor or absorber of light. You, blacks, darker skinned people, have all of those frequencies inside of you and vibrate all those frequencies. And that is why the UV rays do not harm you, because it's a friend to you, energizing you, and then filters the rest it doesn't need. So in relation to bipolar, because you vibrate at a higher electromagnetic light frequency, what happens to you and what's happened to people, you're in a day and time for spiritual contact. And that spiritual contact was to do with the positive spirits or positive vibrations that existed before the universe, like you existed before the universe. And they were meant to be your true guiding spirit, the same way as you call upon your mom, your father, your grandfather. Physically, you're meant to be able to call on your mom, your grandfather, your greats, spiritually. But because blacks have fallen away from true spiritual living and true physical living, this alignment of frequencies from those spirits that also are balls of electromagnetic frequencies tapping you, it fell apart. And in it falling apart, it messed up the vibrations of certain people and allowed negative spirits to come in this new age of the sun cycle, why it's so hot. From 1998, you've had all the hottest years from 1998 because you're in a new era of time called the sun cycle. It's also the revolutionary cycle, which is a revolving back to the original cycle. It's also the Libra or liberation cycle. And if I go on to diagram 2, you'll see the second way or cause of bipolarism. And this is to do with your 30 personalities. What happens is that if a person has a personality disorder and that person creates a heinous crime, the person is still accountable for that crime, because I've replaced the word personality with the word character and say multiple characters. It's still the person who committed the crime. But I'll use the term personalities because you lot are used to it. And in bipolarism, you can have that as well. All right? Where the person is acting like, they're a different person or they're not the same person. This can come through a teaching revealed by the incarcerated person on heinous charges of child molestation, which I reveal in chapter 3 of my book, that he did not commit charges of child molestation, but I put plainly that the source of information is revealed by Dr. Malachi Z. York, where he introduced a level of teaching that accounts for why this personality disorder occurs. And it 100% makes sense, because he revealed that in the subject of genetics, right, you have a genetic change that happens every 4 generations, all right? And if you look at the term 2, 4, 8, and 16, these are your generational family, all right? Are you seeing that? 2, 4, 8, 16, yes?
Yes. Yes.
Good.
Yes. Yes.
Good, good. 2, 4, 8, 16, all right? So, for instance, what was meant to happen in this day and time, if we were on a certain vibrational level with our electromagnetic frequencies vibrating instead of being toxic with all the things we do mentally and physically, your frequencies will reach full capacity of physicality, which is your electromagnetic frequency, and then it steps into the spiritual realm, where you now be able to tap into, or those beings tap into you, right? If you fulfill your electromagnetic capacity. That's one way beings tap you. But the other way, which is the second way, is the fact that there's personality traits or hangover traits in the DNA that you obviously get from your generational parents. And they are coming to the fore in this day and time. And they have an influence now with these people and in the everyday lives of people. Because we all have traits from these people, whether we know it or not, your generational bloodline. So for instance, what was meant to happen, you was meant to naturally dial into, for example, personality 16 or ancestor 16. Ancestor 16 would be, if you count it, 2, 4, 8, 2 at 4 is 6, 6 at 8 is 14, then you add 2. So the second person in on the last line of your great-great-grandparents, right? That'll be somebody on your great-great-grandparents line. You was meant to able to call in just like a cellular or smartphone conversation and literally have a conversation with them naturally, right? This is why they've got everybody external, outwards, physical, because this type of information was only for a select few people. So what they did, they just set out pure nonsense with people's thinking, pure nonsense with the technology, because if the technology is created to have people induced in gossip, then the technology is also of a stupid line, because it's entertaining foolishness. So that technology in actuality is on a lower level. So you have dunce technology, stupid technology with stupid people, and all the people on the stupid index that will ignore this level of technology. Because for everything that they make physically, black people have a spiritual, literal, or etheric counterpart that was originally theirs before the technology came on. So you had telephones, we had electromagnetic communication and spiritual communication. Do you understand that? So what you have here is that if you was to say, oh, I'm going to dial, if you knew the person's name, right, you'd be able to literally call that person internally. And that is also why you get that inner guidance, because that inner guidance you're getting is also from your agreeable side of the family, as well as the disagreeable side of the family. Because in your bloodline, you have great people, indifferent people, horrible people, crazy people. So in this age of the sun cycle, a lot of these personalities are coming to the fore because this level of information and technology was meant to come out in this sun cycle, in this age, in this 21st century. But because of the fact that this teacher was incarcerated, this information got missed, he couldn't elaborate on it, he couldn't get you to that level, we stay on this lower level now. And the results of this now is that it's caused in some people misconstruement in the brain and a disorder, character disorders, because they weren't taught to walk a certain path of pureness, so that so that the disagreeable side of the family won't come to the fore and mess them up. I'll end it like this with 2 points. One is on marijuana. Marijuana in some people can open people up to those personalities on the spiritual level and in their DNA grouping. And that's why you hear a lot of people say, yeah, you know, that's why they call it a psychotic active ingredient for THC, tetrahydrocannabinol, which is the active ingredient of sensimelia, or what you call high grade. It's because of the THC why you get that buzz. But in marijuana, it can open certain people up to those frequencies, because certain frequencies in the brain are spiritual frequencies or electromagnetic frequencies. But I don't want to end it on a negative, I want to end it on a positive. And the positive would be is that in elevating, you have to make goal setting number one. And you got have two forms of unity. Unity with yourself, in that what does my inner voice say in order to guide your life? Two, unity with others who can help you along the way.